Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome, everybody, here to the Lakers Lounge podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, Senior Lakers Insider for Clutch Points, joined on this fine Thursday night by Raj Chapalu, also of Clutch Points. Raj, we'll get into the game here in a bit. We'll get into the trade here in a bit. We'll get into Max Christie, and we'll talk about LeBron doing his thing the way that he did, and Austin's command of the offense, and the Lakers figuring out a way to win without Anthony Davis. Christian Coloco played well again tonight, and maybe, just maybe, one day JJ Redick will trust that guy. But I need to start this episode with a little bit of ranting and raving about Marc Davis.
Okay.
Because
ref?
Yeah, Marc Davis, the referee.
Okay.
He wore number 8, for those of you wondering. That bald motherfucker who was like in charge of his own reviews.
Okay.
That guy. So, like, it's always kind of ambiguous, like, which calls go to Secaucus and which calls, like, are handled in-house there on the sidelines. His, like, go-to thing tonight was, like, the play stands, as if, like, there was not conclusive evidence of whatever. I'm just going to say, if Marc Davis is ever, for the rest of his life, ever in charge of his own reviews, scrap reviews. Just say, going into the game, neither team has any reviews tonight. There will be no like, late game reviews within the 2 minutes or anything like. It's just a waste of time, because that guy apparently is absolutely unwilling to admit he was wrong, or he or any of the other people who were refereeing that game were wrong. The Lakers were always going to win this game. And the final against the Portland Trailblazers here, 114-106. I was never like particularly worried that they were going to lose this game. No. However, if Marc Davis ever referees a high leverage game for the rest of his life, reviews just go into it saying they don't count.
Yeah.
You could say, like, you could light up the green light and you could say all that stuff, and then Marc Davis can just go to the mic and be like, nope, and then just move on. That way we don't have to waste, like, I'll never get those 10 minutes that we wasted on combined reviews back. Right. I'm getting old, Raj. I can't waste time on this stuff anymore.
Sure.
But Marc Davis, like, just doesn't understand what goaltending is, apparently. He has no idea, like, what you can and cannot do with reviews, apparently, because, like, they went to the review to see if what Dorian Finney-Smith did was, flagrant. Yeah. You know what you could do there is you can actually decide whether or not there was a foul called, or you could
Can you actually? That was my question. Can they review that? Okay, because I'm wondering if that has to be challenged to.
No, like if like, because they've done this earlier this year, where, like, if somebody challenges whether or not the ball is out on somebody, the referee can actually decide that a foul occurred that would, like, that forced the ball out on that player. Like, all of this stuff, like, we're Raj, the Blazers played their 33rd game tonight. The Lakers played their 33rd game tonight. We're damn near halfway through the season. And Marc Davis apparently has no idea how challenges go and how referees go, or reviews go. Well, how referees go also.
Yeah, right.
But, like, I just, like, here's my thing. I think at this point, everybody in sports can come together and say, now it's never going to happen because reviews leads to commercials. Commercials sells airtime, all of that stuff. They're not actually ever going anywhere. However, we can all collectively, I think, come together at this point and be like, you know what? Reviews were a mistake.
That's where I was going to go with this. I think we've gone way too far. The one review was like, all right, fine. Let, a coach or a team decide, to kind of overturn at least one call a game. The 2 reviews is too much per team. the first quarter review that takes 15 minutes, Anthony, because there's no urgency in a first quarter, right? There's no urgency to get it done. You're not, battling against the clock at all. And these reviews take forever. I was at the Lakers Cavs game, and there was a review in the first or second quarter. It took like 20 minutes real time. And it just kills the flow of a really fun basketball game that's going back and forth, and we stop. And, they don't just check the foul. They check the time. They check the out of bounds, and then they put the ball into play. And after that, the game has died. The energy has changed. There's just a flow to basketball that, I think we don't need reviews. Last 2 minutes of game, if a referee wants to go and look at it for what went out of bounds, fine. But I don't think coaches need a review. I don't need a player twirling their hands and then the replay comes and you clearly fouled them, Jackson Hayes.
Yeah.
I don't need that every single time. It's extremely annoying and it just kills the whole flow of the game. I'm with you there.
I just think, and actually now that I'm thinking about it, Raj, they don't even play commercials during this.
No, you watch the referee and you have the commentating, and Stu Lance is just, I don't know if you were listening to Stu today, but he's just, that's clearly a block. And he was so confident that it was going to be overturned. He's like, oh, that's clearly the block. The ball hadn't hit the backboard yet.
But in fairness, he was right.
He was. No, he was totally right.
He was right. I saw it live. I was like, yeah, I don't, goaltend, really? And then like they showed it and it was like, oh, okay, cool. They're going to overturn this. Nope. Inconclusive. If we're going to, all right, bud, look, again, all of sports, because this is the case with all of sports.
Okay.
They spend like fucking minutes and minutes and minutes and minutes. At least in the NFL, they were wise and they're like, all right, every time that we call a review, well, the NFL also, like anytime somebody gets hurt, they're like, we're going to step away from the action. We're going to sell you some stuff. And then like every time, like, and they do it in all like the grim voices, like, I sure hope so-and-so is okay. We'll be right back here in a bit. And then it's always funny because like it's some cheerful commercial.
Right. It's like Burger King right in your face right after someone's wheelchair.
It's like Coors Light where they have like some like big train like people all over the world join hands. Anyway, but like at least football figured it out. Like they'll go to they'll say like, all right, we're gonna have a review here. We'll show you the play a couple of times, and then we're gonna shoot to commercial. Right when they figured out, like, all right, this is gonna take a little while. We're gonna go to commercial. You can go use the restroom. We'll be right back here in a bit.
Right.
And then like, but in the NBA, they're like, no, actually, we're gonna show the same play 38 times. And we're going to show these referees coming together that like having what is clearly the most important conversation of any of their lives. And they're still going to arrive at the wrong call. He's like, you're not selling it. You're not making any money off of the commercials. You're not like, all you're doing is like halting play. And like football is used to like the start and stop nature of it, right? Like, I think you got more into football this year than you had been before, right? And like football, you're used to like, all right, 15 seconds of action, stop.
Right.
15 seconds of action, stop. 15 seconds of action, stop. And like you're used to like that stoppage of play. Basketball is a very rhythmic thing. Soccer is like this too. Soccer is also a very rhythmic thing. Yeah. It's a very rhythmic sport. Baseball, it's like stop, 3 seconds of action, stop.
Yeah.
And like you go back to like in basketball, these guys rely on that rhythm. These guys rely on that back and forth. Like the pickup is it's why pickup is, I think, the purest form of the sport, right? It's because if you call a foul in pickup, you better have your arm chopped off.
Right. Yeah.
Because everybody is like, stop. Right. We were all figuring, like we all had it going. Or like, have you ever played with the guy who calls fouls that he commits? And everybody is like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like, what are you doing?
He's like, ball up top. It's like, oh,
yeah,
all right, man. Just
shut up.
Keep playing.
Stop. And then it's funny because like the guy who's like getting the fouls called like for him is like, no, man, like can we just play? Right. Basketball really needs that rhythm, and like the NBA has doubled down on reviews. Like the review, the review's place in the sport has only grown over the last like 5 years or so. And it's not gotten any better. They aren't getting more calls correct. All it does is just piss off the players. It pisses off the fans. And then like today, Marc Davis gets to look into a mic and be like, I was right.
Right. Yeah.
Except you weren't. But he's like, I was right. It's just tonight was just really annoying. And I wanted to open with that because like it's just like tonight's like they were objectively wrong outcomes to these calls. And tonight, like the game's outcome wasn't really in question. The Lakers were clearly the better team. They played with their food anyway, and they were always going to win this game. So I wasn't like that. I would have been a lot more upset if this happened in the Cavs game and it cost the Lakers that game. Or I would have been a lot more upset if this was like, an in-division game that really mattered, right? All that stuff. Like this, whatever. I fired off a couple tweets about it. We move on. But like, man, it's never going to happen. But like, we need to get to a point here where it's like, all right, the whole review thing, scrap it. We're not getting it right anyway. Just scrap it.
I think it came from, the right place. Like, I think the thought of it was nice to kind of get all the calls correct, or even getting the calls that the next day calls where they tell you what fouls should have been called. It's like, we don't need that. The game is done. The game is over. Let's move on. But I think Adam Silver can look at the game, and they spoke about how, there's a whole ratings conversation going on right now.
Yeah.
I think this is part of it as well. I think getting the product, at least even if it's on TV, but the in arena experience is important. And I've been to a few Laker games this year where it's just like, you're sitting there waiting for the referee to make a decision, and the fans are just sitting in their seats. And to your point, basketball is very up and down. It's a flow sport. The crowd gets into it. And when you sit a crowd down for 15, 20 minutes with no action, you kill the energy in the room. So, I would just get rid of reviews. Let refs decide, on out of bounds last 2 minutes. Other than that, let's play on.
Well, and I think the NBA, as much as any sport, really benefits from a lively crowd as a television product, right? Like football, that football field is so big that the football field is so big, you don't see the crowd at all. You see some of the crowd in baseball, but it usually requires replay to see the crowd. But in basketball, you can see the crowd and their reaction or the lack thereof every single play without needing like crowd specific shots. And again, like we're talking about the ratings aspect of this, and like whether it's the in-person product or the television product. And I think the two things go hand in hand in this case, where the better the crowd, the better the television product. And I think reviews hurt both. All right, let's go ahead and move on though. Let's talk about the actual game. 114-106 is the final here. The Lakers improved to 19-14 on the season. Anthony Davis didn't play in this one. Gabe Vincent also didn't play in this one. Gabe Vincent dealing with that abdominal sprain or whatever it is. And then Anthony Davis dealing with an ankle thing. I think AD sat the first night of a back-to-back is what this was. I think the Lakers are looking at the Hawks game as, a higher priority here. They figured they could win this Blazers game without him and without Gabe, and they want both of them just that much more healthy for the Hawks game. The Lakers got significant input here from LeBron. 38 points, 8 assists, 3 boards, 15 of 25 from the field, 7 of 10 from 3-point range for LeBron. He needed that positive regression game. And it was always coming. Still waiting for it from Dalton. Austin Reaves, 15 points. Didn't shoot the ball particularly well here. 2 of 9 from 3-point range, 5 of 15 from the field. Did dish out 11 assists. Did grab 8 boards. Only had the 3 turnovers in this one. Was almost a game high, plus 10. Game high was actually Dorian Finney-Smith with a plus 11. But Max bleeping Christie, my large adult son, 9 of 6, played 32 minutes tonight, guarding, whether it's Anthony Simons or Scoot Henderson or Shaden Sharp, or like he was just whoever the best ball handler on the court was he was handling them and knocking down shots. 28 points for Max Christie, 5 of 9 from 3-point range, 5 of 5 from the free throw line. His 28 points absolutely blows his previous career high out of the water. The game, like our buddy, friend of the show, Daman, tweeted out the game is slowing down for him. I think it's very clearly. What's really cool though, Raj, is not just is it like very evidently slowing down for him, but it's a way that it's slowing down for him. It's slowing down for him starting on the defensive end. And it's like getting himself into a rhythm offensively too. And now, do I think like he's going to be 5 of 9 from 3-point range, all that stuff here moving forward? No. I do think we are reaching a point here where the sample size is getting big enough to where catch and shoot, especially from the corners, he is actually very good at that shot. Are we watching like the birth of a starter? Like, are we watching my large adult son like become the player that I thought he was going to be going into the season?
Right. We're watching your large adult son move out, right? He's got his own place. He's moved out of the house.
His room into a gym?
Right. Yeah, he's gone, Yeah, that's the best part of watching these type of players grow. And I remember when he played his summer league, and I thought that mattered. Max Christie, he got the ball a bunch of possessions in a summer league 2 summer leagues ago. I was like, this is great improvement for him, and he came into the season and his minutes were kind of yanked around. But this year, Anthony mentioned the corner threes. He's up to 43% on corner three, percent shooting this year. That goes up. I think he hit 4 corner threes, like 4 or 5 were from the corner. And you spoke about his defense. It's just they're throwing him on every big wing. I just, again, I was there when they played Cleveland and watching him chase. And Donovan Mitchell is going to get his. That's just the type of jump shooter he is. But watching him chase around Mitchell and chasing on Garland, I thought he actually did a pretty solid job on that. And then tonight against Simons, he was chasing around Simons for the first half, and Simons hit some tough jump shots in the second half. But no, I think I said before the season started, there was no good team here without Max Christie being a part of it. He's a huge part of it. He looks like you're starting 2 guard, and we'll see if that continues. But this has been a pretty long stretch, Anthony. I think it's 5 out of 6 now in double figures, and the game slowing down. The part of it that's fun is it feels like LeBron's really enjoying like playing with Max.
Yeah.
Max has become since Austin's kind of got the ball handling duties, Max has become the screener. And I think he got 30 back cuts tonight because Portland's a team that overplays you, and their, rim protection is DeAndre Ayton for a lot of time. So, their guards are super aggressive at the top on the perimeter, and Max was back cutting. He was screening his interior passing. I think, I don't know how many assists he finished with, but he got a bunch of like little hockey passes and interior passes to Rui at the rim. He's growing up. It's just cool to watch him grow and become the starting 2 guard next to Austin, who's also taking the leap. It feels like both of your guards are taking this leap at the same time, which is really cool to watch. And that youth lineup where it's Max, Austin, Dalton, DFS next to AD usually, but tonight it was Koloko. That continues to play well. They played well against Cleveland. They play well again tonight. And there's just a like energy and motor to that group that's really fun. So to me, none of this happens without Max Christie being good, and it just balances everyone else out. Like if he wasn't good, Anthony, you're starting Cam Reddish, or you're starting Dalton Connect through his struggles because you don't have a choice, or you're starting Gabe Vincent. It's just Max Christie being good is the reason kind of all this is possible to me.
It's also like, again, the shooting I think is going to come and go, right? The shot looks like it should go in. He has a clean looking shot. I think like over the course of his career, dude, he can barely drink legally. That's the crazy thing here.
Yeah.
Like this kid is young. I remember I've been like my dad was just in town here for the last like week and a half or so for the holidays. And we were talking about like, like guys on the roster and stuff. And I was like, but Dad, you don't get this guy's crazy young, like ridiculously young. And my dad is the kind of guy who's like, oh yeah, prove how young he is. Prove how young he is. And I'm like, literally just Google Max Christie age. And he's like, whoa, like,
yeah.
And like, if you're looking at potentially a kid at 21 years old, turning into a viable starter on a playoff team, like he's only going to continue to get better until he's worse, and I mean, like, until he's worse, like 10 years from now,
Yeah.
maybe even more. So, like, watching this has been really fun. And it's also like, the reason it feels sustainable is because he's not doing the way that he's scoring is very simple. Like you said, all of the back cuts, all of the stuff off of screens, spot up shooting. It's not motion shooting. It's not like coming off of screens and knocking down fadeaway threes and contested threes and stuff like that. It's like, hey man, can you just go stand over there and then just wait for the ball, have your feet ready, have your hands ready. And I like, it's really fun to watch a Laker like
Yeah.
benefit from the strikes that LeBron throws, those cross court strikes that he throws.
Oof.
That like, he's standing there. Max is like standing there and he has his hands like ready, like a catcher in baseball, where like he doesn't have to frame it. It's the ball is coming in. It's hitting him right there. It's hitting him right in rhythm. And he gets to load up, put the ball on the platter, and let it rip. And it's just pretty basketball. And on top of that, Raj, he's playing great defense night in, night out. He's managing to stay out of foul trouble. Early on the season, he had some issues with foul trouble. He's getting better with that too. Like, I'm not kidding, man. Like, we joked. This wasn't on the air. I think this was right when you hopped on. We weren't live yet, but you were like, "Get your Bruce Brown trades out of here. Stop with all that nonsense and stuff." And I'm like, imagine if they had both. But still, like, this is Max turning into a Bruce Brown. I don't know if he'll ever handle the ball as well as Bruce Brown did, but like, this is Max turning into a legitimate, again, playoff starter.
I said this when he was struggling, Anthony. We do this with these type of players where we kind of just assume that since the 3-and-D role looks simple, right? Like when you watch on TV, it feels like a very simple role. But the asks on a 3-and-D, there's still a ton of asks there that a player has to grow into, and there's stuff that you have to learn through it, right? And I think, Max deserves a lot of credit for, early in the year, there were, he was just attacking the basket at the wrong time. He was trying to dunk on people. His drives were not matching kind of what the defense was giving him. And you watch him today, and you watch him like this whole past week against high leverage teams in, desperate situations, teams that are on the playoff race. You watch him against these defenses, and he's reading the defense, right? He's kind of understanding, okay, you go under me, I have a lane to go. If if you're playing off me, this is where I need to relocate to. It's funny watching him and Dorian play, like just the compounding of both of them being super skilled wings who are always in the right place, right? It just pops off the screen when you go from.
Just imagine with like AD on the court too.
Right, but there was a play in crunch time where Anthony Simons was trying to attack Max Christie, and he couldn't get a lane on him, so he had to give it up to why am I blanking on their other guard's name? The super athletic one.
Shaden?
Shaden Sharp. He swung to Shaden, and Shaden had Dorian Finney-Smith on him, and he tried to go by him, and he couldn't get by him either. And then they forced it, into a really tough shot, or at the end of that possession, and the Lakers got the ball. Max Christie, I think, went down and hit 2 free throws. But just to watch him relocate at the right places, cut at the right time, his baseline cutting is there. He's relocating the open threes are there, but you have to kind of find the open space too, right? And you're just seeing him kind of understand when to roll, when to short roll, when to pass out of that, when to kick out. It's just, you're seeing a basketball player grow. And you mentioned the age; he's still only 21. I think he's still only 21. It's just cool to watch him and Austin kind of grow together in this starting backcourt role.
They make $20 million combined for the next few years. Combined.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just double checking here. Yeah, he does. He turns 22 mid-February. February 10th is when he would turn 22. Right now he's 21. Max is. So just really fun stuff from him. We do this thing pretty often though, like where like LeBron does something spectacular and then somebody else does something like even relatively cool.
Right.
And we just like LeBron was great. Then we move on to the other guy. LeBron, like it's so crazy that he can like diagnose the ways to win a game, and you can watch it live, and he'll just keep going to that thing over and over and over again and get just like, especially in a game like this one, where like the Lakers were never going to blow out the Blazers without Anthony Davis in this one, right? They probably weren't going to win this one by like 15 or more either. But you look down the stretch of that game, and anytime it got like you got a little nervous about it, LeBron understood kind of like where the ball needed to get to for the Lakers to, be able to create a good look. And I never felt while LeBron was on the court that the Lakers weren't going to get a good look. And it is absolutely insane that we can still say that about a guy after his 40th birthday. Absolutely insane. Like, and like, again, no signs. Like, there's some signs that he's slowing down a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Like his, like, when Billy Mack is going like LeBron James, like it takes a little bit less for him to say that, because I think he recognizes that, like, we need to bring that bar down a little bit. But it is still like when LeBron decides, hey, we're winning this one, the Lakers are winning that one against like, a certain caliber of teams and down.
Yeah, it's fun to watch LeBron against these bad teams, right? Especially when he's motivated. Obviously, there's some times where there's bad teams where it's clear LeBron. It's like, hey, let's just do the bare minimum to win. But tonight he was, rejuvenated for some whatever reason he has, and just watching him like toy with the Blazers because he knows they just aren't up to, like, when you go from the Cavs to like the Blazers. Obviously, there's a gap in just competition level, but like he was coming off screens, and like I'm gonna go back and rewatch, but it felt like he sent like 10 or 12 no look passes, just absolutely toying with them. And he sent a bunch of like where he's kind of threading the needle because he knows that there's just no one on Portland that's going to be there, and he's like 3 plays ahead. And there's just never been anyone that has this level of experience with his body still being able to do what his body can do. It just won't exist. He hit the 3 at the end of the game, and you just take that stuff for granted. And I put up the stat. The Kings broadcast had this stat up where they were putting the top fourth quarter scores this year, Anthony. And it's like De'Aaron Fox, LaMelo Ball, Trae Young. These dudes like 26, 27. I forgot the other guy's name.
The last guy's name is literally Young.
Right.
Like, it's the sport where it benefits you to be young. The last guy you mentioned's actual name is Young, and it's like 40-year-old LeBron.
Right, and then it's like LeBron James mixed with all these mid-20-year-olds. It's just absolutely absurd what he's doing. And that week off looked like it really helped. It looks like he got his body back to where it needed to be. We got about a month and a half before the All-Star break, so hopefully like he can kick, he can continue to kick this gear. But just insane. He was I think he had 23 or something by the middle of the third on 10 of 14 shooting. He was just, there's just no words to describe him anymore. And his 3-point shooting, I think, will come back. You mentioned it earlier as well. But no, he was just having fun tonight, which is really fun to watch when LeBron decides, yeah, I'm just gonna mess with the other team the whole time with no fear of losing. That's when you get the best LeBron.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure to watch this guy. And it's funny, like, this is all we get to have this conversation while like people in Miami are like, do we want to trade Jimmy Butler? Do we want to keep Jimmy Butler? Right? Like, I think Jimmy Butler's like a few years younger than LeBron, right? He's 35, LeBron is 40, and if I were in Miami, I'd be like, I'd be ready to trade Jimmy at this point, in my opinion. The last thing I would want to do if I was a Miami fan is pay Jimmy Butler. And like, hell, that goes for any team that acquires him. Like, I don't know if I would want, like, I said this, I popped into the coach's den earlier. But I was like texting with Wendy, and I was kind of like joking with him. I was like, I'm old enough to remember when the Lakers would be involved with this Jimmy Butler stuff, and there would be some like Lakers noise here, right? We just kind of went back and forth. We were joking about it. And it, like, after that little like back and forth, like kind of hit me. I was like, oh God, please don't trade for Jimmy Butler. Like, I don't want I don't want that guy at all, and And it's because like he's expecting to be paid a max contract, and he is not currently worth a max contract, and he will not be worth a max contract next year or the years afterward. He might be in the postseason, but like you're not guaranteed that you're going to make it to the postseason if you're paying Jimmy Butler max money in this CBA. And
Yeah.
like all of this is going on, we get to sit here and we get to watch LeBron at age 40. And I know that there's a lot of nonsense that we have to put up with too. Bronny James is on this roster, but there's a lot of stuff that we have to put up with, and a lot of noise that comes with employing LeBron James too. But it's also like you also get to watch games like this where Anthony Davis is going to sit. They're still trying to figure it out with Dorian Finney-Smith, and they're still trying to figure it out, like figure out the offense without D'Angelo Russell. And LeBron's just like, don't worry about this. Like, we're good. I got this. Let's go ahead. Let's pick up this win and then get ready for Atlanta tomorrow.
Right. It's always so absurd. Obviously, I'm not comparing the two players at all, but obviously Max Christie had his career high tonight, right? I think he finished with 27 or
28.
28. That's what LeBron averages. It's just insane. And I'm not comparing Max to LeBron. It's just absurd the consistency that LeBron plays with. They did like LeBron's averages from Monday through Sunday, and it's just 28, 8 and 8, no matter what day it is. He's just so consistent. It's absolutely absurd. So yeah, we're very blessed to be able to watch him, and it's been cool that for him to be in LA, Anthony. I don't think I would have appreciated LeBron if he never like in the same way that I do now, because he's obviously in LA, and I've lost count how many times I've seen LeBron in person, which means I've seen him, play live more than I saw, Kobe play even when I was growing up, which is kind of insane to me. But yeah, just you get a renewed appreciation when a guy's, playing for your team every night. And it's been just cool to watch, and it's insane to watch him just continue to do this every single night.
Yeah, we're probably not going to see this happen again.
No,
I'm not going to say definitely never, because, players are aging better now and guys understand how to take better care of their bodies and all that stuff. But I can say that this is one of the most insane things that I have ever seen in my life as a sports fan. And I'm the same guy that, like Harrison, the other day we were doing a show and he was marveling at the fact that I knew exactly what the Lakers traded for Trevor Ariza back in 2007. Like, I remember Jen's always annoyed. Like, I wish I knew my kids' birthdays better, but I know a bunch of sports stuff. I have a great sports memory. I have never seen anything like this when it comes to sports, and you could say like Tom Brady won a Super Bowl at a certain age, and you could say, some guys age very well in baseball and stuff like that. But like on a night by night basis, where in basketball, like it is every night or is every other night, and LeBron has to play on both sides of the ball. For LeBron still at this age to be able to decide on a random Thursday in January, nah, I got this. I'll just go ahead and beat the Blazers tonight. That's crazy. At 40? That's insane. That is, I don't think I'm ever going to see anything like this again.
Me either. And I think he's just going to run the score up so much that no one's ever going to be close. They put up like the 30-point games. Obviously, he already has the points lead. I think he's like 60 or 70 games from the most games, played in a career. And obviously, he's going to run past that if he, obviously finishes this season and plays whatever he is next season, whatever it is beyond. I was, texting with Sabrina, and I said he might be, Anthony, the first player to walk away just because he doesn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah,
like no one else has been able to say that. They've all had, their stardom stripped from them from injury or from age. And he'll continue to be a top 10 to 15 player as long as he wants to be. And that's that part I don't think will ever be replicated.
Yeah. Let's really quickly here talk about Austin before we get into the start comments, because actually we got to talk about Austin. We got to talk about the trade. But Austin tonight, again, plus 10 on the night. Only Dorian had a higher plus minus here. He had plus 11. He was a plus 11 on the game. Austin was a couple of rebounds away from a 35-point triple-double the other night. He's a couple of rebounds away from a triple-double here tonight. He was like the first, he joined like an insane group of Lakers to have, 55 points and like, 20 something assists in 2 straight games or something like that, the way that he did. Since he's been kind of handed the reins to the offense, and specifically since Max Christie has gotten into the starting lineup. We are nearing that point here where the sample sizes start mattering. I don't think we're quite there yet. I think we still need to get a little bit more. People are asking in the chat, like, for me to talk about Rui. I'm in too good of a mood, frankly. Like, I don't want to talk about Rui. I think the Lakers should trade him. There's my Rui take. But like,
Oh wow.
but like, I think, like, talk about Austin. Like, this was a game that he didn't shoot the ball particularly well, but had complete command over the offense. And it's been wild to watch this dude, undrafted guy, some like 6'4", 6'5" white guy who doesn't blow you away athletically, is just like a fundamentally great basketball player. Like, his fundamentals are great. And his understanding of the basketball, like of how to play basketball, is great. This is like, we talk about like Austin, like kind of growing into his own and how fun it is to watch that. I'm having more fun watching Austin. What did I say? I said Max before.
Max.
I should have meant Max. Yeah. But I like, as much fun it is to watch Max kind of grow into this role, Austin's role is even bigger.
Way bigger.
And it's that much more fun. Now, I was kind of talking with Pete, like, because we were talking about the Dorian trade, and his concern is, potentially that Max might not be like an NBA championship caliber point guard. And I get it to a certain extent, but like, if these sample sizes continue the way that they are, it's going to be kind of tough to like say that he isn't either.
Right. Yeah. And, with Austin, like, I've been high on him since his rookie year. I was, saying he should have been playing more even that season. Yeah. This mix of playmaking and scoring, like, this is a ceiling that not a lot of dudes get to. And even, find good players, they kind of cap out at a certain amount. For him to be at just consistent double-digit assists, obviously the Christmas game was, he had a huge game there. And you mentioned that crazy stat where it's him, Magic Johnson, and Kobe. I think it's a crazy kind of, mix to be a part of. That had like plus 50 points and over 30 assists or whatever.
You know how hard it is? Like, you know how crazy it is, Raj, that he would be in a grouping of Magic Johnson and Kobe, and you wouldn't see that meme of the two, like, like those two like mean looking dragons and the little doofus one. Like, the fact that we didn't get that doofus, like that Austin wasn't turned into that doofus dragon, is crazy. It's absolutely insane. You're talking about Magic Johnson, you're talking about Kobe Bryant, 2 pillars of the Los Angeles Lakers organization in the history of the most like historic franchise of this NBA that we love. And Max is just like, yeah, sure, he belongs in that grouping. Sure, why not?
Right. And I'm gonna pair this game with the Cleveland game, Anthony, because like, obviously that's more of an elite team, but just the way Cleveland was guarding and the way that Portland was guarding was completely different, right? Cleveland was backed off, but they had guards super aggressive chasing around, but their big man was, backing up in a drop coverage, and Austin cooked them like every which way, frying them, not a chef, but like frying them back and forth in multiple different ways. Pull up jump shots, floaters, step back threes, crossover left, right, in and out dribble. And his just bag continues to grow at a pace where even as a high, person who was high on Austin did not see. And then tonight the shot wasn't there, but he was diming. Like, his assists are improving with each kind of rep that he gets. And I say this all the time about passers. There's difference between like reading a defense versus manipulating, right? And Austin's starting to manipulate defenses. He's starting to say, okay, like, my goal on this play is to get Koloko a dunk. So to do that, I need to drive and draw the help here. Or Max is hot, right? I need to get him open on a corner three. So to do that, the help has to come from the weak side on this position. And those are like little reads that you're seeing him get better and better at. There's obviously still going to be turnovers when you get this much of a high usage, but yeah, he's hitting like a pretty crazy ceiling, and it's becoming very, very consistent against very good teams with good defenses who are like Portland game plan for him tonight. JJ Redick, I don't know if you heard JJ on the walk-off at halftime, but he said Portland threw Kamara on Austin instead of LeBron because Kamara is their best defender. He's like, that's a hell of a show of respect to Austin. So no, it's been cool to watch him. Max, to me, Max's growth he went from playing with the G League guys to starting 2 guard on the Lakers. That growth of that jumps a little longer, even though it's not the jump that Austin's taking. But no, Austin's completely jumped, and he's been handed the keys, and he's like, I'm not going to get any scratches on this car. I'm driving it straight. I'm going through, and I'm getting us to our destination, which is really, really cool to see.
I actually think Austin's jump this year is more impressive than even Max's, because it's like you'll see this every so often where an NBA team goes from like 25 wins to like 45 or something like that, or 25 wins to like, low to mid 40s. It's like, damn, that's a big jump, right? But actually, it's a significantly harder jump to go from like 45 wins to like 50 or 50 or more, even though that's fewer games of a jump. But like for Austin to go from like, I think he can be handed the keys and see how this goes, to like, oh no, he can. Now, I do still have some concerns about him against like longer, athletic, more physical defensive teams. He needs to, show that he's a little bit better in those spots than he has been to this point. But this has been wild. Like, since Max has stepped into the starting lineup, this run that Austin is on has been absolutely insane. I'm just going to pull up his game log here, because it's just, I think Max stepped into the starting group after the Atlanta loss, right? Which was, let's see, I forgot. ESPN goes backwards. So the Lakers lost that overtime game in Atlanta, and then the next game, Max starting. Why isn't this pulling up? Portland.
Yeah, it was definitely after the Atlanta game was when.
Yeah, why isn't it showing up? October is the beginning of the season. ESPN.
So they lost to Atlanta. Then they had the home win against Portland. And then Minnesota, Memphis.
The Atlanta game isn't even showing up. ESPN's game log is broken. Austin Reaves game log. ESPN, you're worthless. All right. And now Basketball Reference only has the last 5 games. I want all of his games. Why can't we just... What are we doing here?
So you're looking for the ones after the Atlanta game?
After the Atlanta game, yeah.
So he sat out against Portland. So from following that, he had 18, 6-5 in Minnesota, then 19-8, versus Memphis, and then here comes the run. So the road games in Sacramento, he goes 25, 6-5, follows that up with 16, 4-5, 2 road wins. Home game against Portland, against Detroit, 12, 7-2, and then just the absurd in Golden State, 26, 10-10. Home against the Kings, 26 and 16 and 6. Home against Cleveland, 35, 9-10. And then obviously tonight, the 15 points, 11 assists, 9 at halftime. And I think the rebounding also, Anthony, is a little underrated as well. He's rebounding the hell out of the basketball. 10, 6, 9, 8 in the last 4 games, averaging like around 8 to 9 rebounds. Just he's been fantastic. And on the defensive end too, obviously he's not a great defender, but moves his feet, usually is in the right spot, draws charges. There's a compete level on that end that he shows, that kind of shows the conditioning he's in as well. He's really stepped up recently.
I think also important here is the free throws.
Mm-hmm.
So like, all right, so I finally got to Basketball References actual game log. Shouts to Google for making everything so freaking difficult. So yeah, starting with Minnesota, where he got into, Max was in the starting lineup and he was in the starting lineup too. Only 2 free throws against Minnesota, which wasn't great. 5 against Memphis was a step in the right direction. Then it was 9, and then 5, and then 6, and then 8, and then 13 against Cleveland. Tonight he shot 3 free throws. Like I like the now. I think it was Jared Allen, like kind of gave him a bit of a jab for saying that like the Cavs play ethical basketball or whatever. Austin, but like the thing is, Austin always embellishes contact. He's always been a bit of a flopper. But he wasn't putting himself in positions to where like referees were rewarding him for that or acknowledging the contact. And now with the way that he is playing offensively, he's putting himself into spots on the court where like he's getting back to getting some of those reputation calls. He's starting to like put himself in spots where that contact like visibly matters more. Like those little things matter a lot. When you're talking about like the difference between what used to be turnovers or just missed field goal attempts, which are now like trips to the free throw line.
Yeah, right. And JJ Redick said this as well. But I just think like when you're at a 3-point deficit, like the Lakers have been for a while, I think they're 20th in makes or whatever they are. You have to rely on free throws. That's just a part of it because you have to dominate. You're dominating from other places if you're not winning the math game. And Austin really, gives that to you. And which is why I always bring this up because it's just fascinating to me that on a team with LeBron James, obviously superstar in how big he is, and then Anthony Davis, former number 1 pick, or however you want to put AD. Late game, it's Austin Reaves with the basketball.
Yeah,
is making decisions on the floor every single time. Even tonight, it's like, here's Austin, go break down Shaedon Sharp or whoever they have on you, or Kamara. Obviously, LeBron was huge at the end of the game tonight as well. But yeah, it's just, and I always say it's because Austin has a high free throw rate. He can score from all three levels. And he shoots like 89% at the line. That's just a guy that's very trusted to have the ball in his hands at the end of games, especially with the way our stars shoot free throws. But yeah, it's just insane to watch him kind of grow into that kind of clutch player. So seeing that kind of spread out throughout the game, and the usage is going to a place where this is the test, right? All right, we traded D'Angelo Russell. He's gone. The other guards are not on-ball guards. They're Gabe Vincent, Cam Reddish. It's on you and LeBron James.
There was a net there before. They cut the net out.
Exactly. And I'm going to keep bringing it up because I thought the Cleveland game was fascinating because that was the first game, right? First game after the D'Angelo Russell trade. The first game where it's like, here, Austin, here's the keys. You're driving full time now. D'Lo doesn't come in the front seat at all. It's all you. And he's like, all right, cool. Here's 35 and 16 on the best team in basketball.
And 8 rebounds. And could easily have had a 35-point triple-double.
And they should have freaking won that game. Like, the amount of open threes we missed, there was two. I'm not blaming him, but there was 2 open Rui threes that just clanked wide open. There was an open Max. Players are allowed a slump, but Max Christie open corner 3 miss. Cam Reddish took a bad open 3, and then obviously Cleveland does what Cleveland does at the end of the game. But no, that was super impressive to me to do that against a really good Cleveland team, against a really good coaching staff on that end, and he stepped up, man, against a really good team. So we'll see how this continues. It's a lot on his shoulders, but he seems to be handling it.
All right, we're going to hold off on the trade specific talk. I think it's going to come up by way. I've been looking at the starred comments here that we have, and it's going to come up. So I'm going to go ahead and dive into the super comments that we have, which means we get to start with this. All right, first comment here comes from Brandon Omeng on the same subject that we were talking about a second ago. Max is looking really solid. Ham screwed him over the last year. AR struggles with any type of ball pressure. It's concerning to me. Can AR be a 20-point a night player? What do you think, Raj?
I mean, he's a 19-point a game scorer right now. Yeah, I think he can be a 20-point a game scorer. He does struggle with ball pressure for sure, but I think that's kind of I think he's our best guard at attacking ball pressure as well. Like the other guards, they give it up, and Austin's able to kind of use that aggressiveness against them. But like the Drew Holidays, the Derek Whites, which is crazy, they're on the same team. But like the top ball handling, point of attack defenders are going to give all ball handlers issues. It's just the way the Lakers kind of counteract that. But 20-point a game guy, he's at 18 or 19 now. So with the usage that he had before.
Yeah, I think he'll probably finish the year averaging about like 22 a game. Would be my guess.
And that's nuts. That's an insane amount.
Yeah.
Ross and Reaves.
Well, they need him to also.
That's fair.
Like if he doesn't, then they're kind of screwed. And I think that's kind of the point that Brandon is making with the question that he's asking is like, if he can't, then what? But I think he probably finishes the year averaging about 22 points a game. LeBron probably finishes the year averaging about like 24, 25, and then we'll see where AD finishes out too.
Yeah. I'm gonna add on this question and just I'm gonna point this to you. Can he be a 9-assist guy a night? He's averaging like 13 or 12 for the last 4 games. This is obviously with the jump in usage. I didn't see that at first, but I'm watching him now going like the playmaking has jumped a tier and teams will adjust. It's just, do you see that kind of as the type of player he is?
It kind of depends on a couple of things. Like I think in a vacuum, I would say yes. Because of the way that the Lakers are playing with him. But I think it also kind of depends, like, are they going to lean into the small switchy lineups where those passes are going to 3-point shooters instead of like dunkers? I think that plays a role here in like the sheer number total here. But in terms of opportunities created, there's a stat for that, right? Like potential assists.
Yeah.
Like in terms of potential assists, I think Austin will probably finish the year like from like if we were able to like at the end of the year go back to when the moment that D'Lo was traded or the moment that Max got into the starting lineup. From that point forward, I think Max will probably finish like top 15 or so in potential assists. I think that would be that's how much confidence I have in it. He has you put it really well earlier. There's a difference between like just like reading a defense and making the right pass, but he forces defenses into situations where like he knows which pass he needs to make, and he kind of gets the defense to lean the other way, knowing he wants to throw that pass over there. Like having that kind of grasp and handle over the offense, it's pretty rare. Those kinds of guys those guys create opportunities at an elite level. And I think by the end of the season, if he stays healthy and if he continues playing in this role, I think he'll be one of those elite guys.
Those are number one, also the highest paid guys in the league. And then number two, adding to the Anthony, I know we're going long on this, but a guy that also knows if you cover that pass, I'll drop 30 on you. Like, yeah. I know when to also be aggressive. And I think that's was not to harp on him, but like, this is to me what D'Lo's issue was D'Lo was very much in the, okay, tonight I'm playmaking or tonight I'm shooting and not really reading what the defense is telling you what's open. So he's getting better and better at reading that every game. And yeah, it's insane where he's jumped to.
Yep. Next question here comes from Justin Tyndall, who writes, thank goodness Bron and Max shot 12 of 19 from 3. What is goaltending? I have no clue. I'm nervous when AD doesn't play. The Lakers shot 50% tonight. I said this on the show that I recorded this morning, and I kind of offered up a quick explainer on why the Lakers might not go out and get a better backup center, and how much that has to do with JJ Redick. just for a quick like refresher, I think that JJ is really hesitant to, carve out minutes for a backup center, let alone a 7-footer to play next to Anthony Davis. And I think as such, the Lakers are kind of reluctant to use what few assets they have to go out and trade for a backup center. Unless they get one at an insane bargain basement type price, I think this is probably going to be the center rotation here moving forward. But like, I do think that would be a bit of a mistake. You're really, I don't really believe in Jackson Hayes. I I would believe more in Christian Coloco, but JJ doesn't. So I don't think we'll ever really see Coloco play the role that I would like to see him play. And if I guess to a certain extent, if AD goes down, you're screwed regardless.
Yeah.
But like, I don't like that if AD even gets into foul trouble, the Lakers are just completely screwed against most matchups.
Right, and I'm, not to you say the V name, but like I think Vanderbilt's also part of this as well, right? The Lakers have gone more and more small, and
Mhm.
Vanderbilt kind of projects as this small ball type of center you can play in these switchy lineups. And I think to me, and I've obviously been a huge Coloco guy, and I continue to believe that that guy gets minutes and he runs the floor, he plays hard, he screens well, and he finishes at the rim. Like that's all you're asking really from your backup big. I gave you the theory a few pods ago that there's no such thing as a perfect backup center because he would then start. So there's just that's
Yeah.
who the backup centers are around the league. But I'm with that way of thinking as well. I just don't think we need to go trade for a backup center. I don't like the options out there. I'm not a Jonas Valanciunas guy at all. You just look at the minutes rotation. We have more forwards that need minutes anyway, especially if those guys get healthy. I haven't even mentioned Christian Wood. I'm not a huge fan of either, but yeah, I could see them just kind of sticking with this and seeing how it goes. I just think you have to remove the Rui at center units, and that's not Rui's fault. It's just he can't play center. It's just the
It's not
roles.
Rui's fault. He just sucks at that thing.
That's just not his skill set. That's just not what he can do. And so you take that out, and I thought tonight, yeah, we played a pretty solid night. I think Portland hit some tough shots. They have athletic guards that finish over the top, but like just get those Rui at center minutes, out of the rotation. I think we're cooking if you can get Coloco and Vanderbilt back in the rotation.
Yeah, I didn't like that Hayes caught a DNP-CD, and it's not even necessarily about Hayes specifically, but I do think that they need some minutes when AD isn't out there with a rim protector, you
Yeah,
know. And now Hayes said that like he's still working on his conditioning. That's a tough thing about like lower body injuries. Hayes had 2 injuries now, 2 stretches that he's missed with an ankle thing, and that means that you can't run, right? That means that you can't condition in the same way, and that's going to affect your rhythm. It's going to affect your timing, and it's going to affect all these things. So maybe the DNP-CD thing was like, just another opportunity for him to get that much healthy or whatever. But I do think it was a bit of a glimpse into the kind of basketball that JJ would like to play. And
oh yeah,
I don't quite agree with it to that extent. The Lakers they they aren't dangerous enough a shooting team to play as small as JJ wants to play.
yeah. But again, I think you made the point. I think it's clear that AD is going to play the 39, 40 minutes. So you're really just buying the 7, 8 minutes that he's
Yeah.
not out there. And if you
In a
can do that
playoff
with
game, yeah.
in a playoff game, if you can do that with Dorian, Max has shown he can switch a little bit. Again, I mentioned Vando earlier, and
I
then
wouldn't.
Coloco. Really quick on Vando. I was at the Cleveland game, and I'm sitting pretty far from the players' bench on the lower bowl. And Vando has like the brightest chain you will ever see hanging from like his pants area. I'm like, come on, man, just get in the game, please. It's just absolutely shining bright. It's the brightest attire in the whole building.
He's got that like elven metal that like shines when it's close to like bad guys. It's just it's like glowing in the dark. Yeah. It's like I picture I picture like the Lakers game ops people being like, Vando, cover your chain. We're doing like the pregame. we have like the drapes down,
Yeah.
and we can't, like, a whole section of the arena can't see the video because your chain is providing a glare. They just cover it up.
Yeah.
No, I would love to see Vando back out there. I just I haven't heard very many good things, and I don't think it's good that the beginning of January has come and gone, and the only update that we have on Vando is, well, he's progressing.
But
To what or to
like,
when, who knows, but he's progressing.
he participated in non-contact practice.
Sure.
So
Yeah. So did you and I, Raj. Um
all right.
all
All right.
right. Next one is Justin again. No wonder ratings are down. The Celtics shot 57 threes tonight. Tatum took 17. Jason Tatum took 17 threes. Oh, yeah. Hauser took 11. All of Hauser's 11 shots were threes. Derek White took 10. People don't want to watch that. So, I was watching the Cleveland game, and actually I was listening to the LFR pod. They did a good job of explaining this, and they were saying how, like, all of the Lakers actions were like trying to get into the paint and trying to create opportunities at the rim, and how everything that Cleveland was creating was trying to create 3-point opportunities. And that to me is the problem. Like, I don't think modern basketball, where you have these offenses that have these Donovan Mitchell is one of the most exciting athletes of our time. He's this
Mhm.
like 6'1", maybe 6 foot tall guy who
Bulldozer.
can get to the rim and elevate 40 something inches off of the ground. And we just don't see that very much from him anymore. Like, he basically, if he gets into the paint, he's looking to get in there, collapse the paint, and then kick the ball out to like George Niang. And I'm like, look, anything that had that any version of offense that creates more opportunities for George Niang and less opportunities for Donovan Mitchell to do cool Donovan Mitchell things at the rim, I'm not okay with. Right. And yet, that is 100% the way that Cleveland should be playing. It is 100% the way that Boston should be playing. Statistically and analytically, that's the way that, like, the sport should be played. If as the point of playing the sport is to win basketball games, that's how you're supposed to do it. And that's where we had eventually arrived at in baseball, where, like, you had these crazy shifts, and you have, these wild, like, homer and strikeout numbers, and you had like really exciting parts of baseball were cut out because the nerds had kind of figured out how to win baseball games. And I think the nerds have kind of figured out how to win basketball games. And we need to, like, in baseball's case, they saw that and they were like, this is not a fun product to watch. Our ratings continue to dip. Is there anything that we could possibly do to address the way that the sport is being played to make it more exciting a television product? And I think the NBA at some point is going to have to figure out a way to make more of an exciting television product. And the Boston Celtics shooting 63 pointers is absolutely insane. That is not good for the sport.
Yeah, it's tough to kind of, analyze that, I guess, and it's clear that, fans want dunks and they want, more high, exciting level plays. But I still think there's a way to sell that in a way that's, digestible for the fans, other than just telling them they should not be shooting more threes, because that's not happening. That's not changing. They're going to continue shooting threes.
No, I think if baseball, the most, like, hardcore tradition
Sure.
oriented sport, is able to take a look at things and be like, all right, we gotta really change some stuff up. Basketball should be able to too.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you watched I shared the clip, but Charles Barkley just went in on JJ Redick, and they were doing the highlight tape. You know, how TNT kind of goes over the game they were watching, and Charles Barkley just attacking JJ Redick's comments on how, the media is the reason that the game is the ratings are down. And I thought Charles just made JJ's point. He was, during a highlight clip of a game that was going on, he was just completely attacking JJ. So I just think there's a way to sell that, Anthony, better than just like, yes, it's true, their dunks are better, but also Cleveland plays a beautiful style of basketball. Like, you watch that and it's ball movement, it's art, it's very Spurs 2014-ish type moves. Jared Allen was dominating
Nobody
inside.
liked the sports, the Spurs. Nobody liked them.
Okay, but like, but I mean, Jared Allen was dominating inside. He was, doing the post play or doing the like old school type of basketball, the ruggedness.
Like, who are the most popular players in the history of basketball? It's the wings that like dribbled in from the 3-point line, took a couple dribbles, and then went out and dunked on Sean Bradley and Yao Ming and every other stiff person who was standing under the basket. Like nobody was like, oh man, I can't wait to see.
Sure.
I don't know. Eric Dampier dunk tonight. Like, no, nobody was interested in that. Like, it was like, go out, like Vince Carter. I want to see you take a couple dribbles and go dunk on Alonzo Mourning. Kobe, I want to see you take a couple dribbles. And I remember when Yao Ming first got into the league, it was like every wing collectively got together. There was like a group text, which wasn't even a thing back then. But there was like a group text. It was like a group message thing that they were like, hey man, are you gonna get Yao tonight? I see that you got Houston on your record. You got Houston on your schedule now. You're gonna get him, right? It's the same thing when like Sean Bradley was like, everybody took turns like trying to dunk on these 7'4" people, because it looked really cool. And like, now, like there was a play tonight where it was either Shaden, I think Shaden Sharp was about to, like, he had his arm back here like this, and I was like, oh, and this guy, like, I know Lakers fans probably haven't seen very many Shaden Sharp games or whatever. One of the absolute best dunkers in the sport.
Yeah.
And he goes up, he's like ready to dunk it, and he's like, oh no, I see a 3-point shooter out there. And he kicked it out, and I'm like, and it's just, we need to rid that from the sport. Like, find a way to get rid of that in the sport. And again, this is where it's tough, because you're objectively right, Raj, that's how the sport should analytically be played. If the point is just to win basketball games, the stuff that Boston, the stuff that Golden State, the stuff that like these 3-point heavy teams are doing, that's how you win. That's how you win via math. However, everybody fucking hates math. Nobody likes math. Engineers probably love the way that the NBA is played right now, because it is just sheer practicality. Every possession is just like, retrofitted to be the most efficient that it could possibly be, but it's not. And like the other thing too is, I think, people are saying, oh, well, if you really know what you're watching, it's really entertaining. And it's like, but that's, you don't want to like specialize the sport. You don't want to make it so that like your average viewer is saying like, oh, this is supposed to be exciting. And you got like the super nerds about basketball. It's like, oh my God, do you see like the Spain action that they're running, and it leads to this corner to, you have this pin down screen, you got this great opportunity in the corner. Right. Like, it's great that like for the people who are that passionate about the sport to be able to like love the sport in that way. That's awesome. I'm not taking anything away from that. I'm just saying though that like, if like part of the reason that like ratings are dipping in the way that they are is because the average person turns on, and like part of it too is that like it's 82 games and it's too many games, and it's really difficult to care about a 1 of 82. But like, it's even more difficult to care about 1 of 82. I feel like if you tune in, and it's like, it used to be, you would see these insane athletes. You would see the Anthony Edwards of the world dribble in and dunk on people at least a few, or try to dunk on people at least a few times a game. Instead, you have Jason Tatum, who was almost as good of an athlete as Anthony Edwards, shooting, what did he shoot? 17 threes. I refuse to believe that's real. I got to look that up.
That is 100%.
If it's real, then that's a bad thing.
But you know who does love math is the Boston Celtic fans, because I'm sure they don't give a crap how they win.
17 threes.
Yes.
He did.
And
Unbelievable. It's wrong.
And they won. They won. Like,
It's
so
great.
I'm sure, you know, Boston Celtic fans are more fine with it than are fine with the math and the game that they're playing, in terms of how it works out. And I think my counter to you would be, I think, who's the biggest star of the last decade? Obviously, LeBron's in there, but the other guy, Steph Curry, is like, it's all jump shooting as well. Steph Curry's not dunking on nobody. He's not going in trying to.
But he doesn't look like somebody who should be dunking. That's the difference. Is that Jason Tatum looks like somebody who should be dunking. Anthony Edwards looks like somebody who should be dunking. If LeBron was shooting 17 threes a game, he'd be like, that's a waste of being that athletic.
Imagine LeBron comes in and just he gets drafted as the most craziest athlete ever, and is just like, nope.
He's just like, but that's what I mean. Like that's all I'm saying. And again, I'm not fully dismissing what you're saying. I'm acknowledging what you're saying. That yes, Herm Edwards, you play to win the game, right? Like that is the way that you do it. And that's why I think the league actually needs to step in and find some way to disincentivize that approach to the sport.
Sure. And so I think they've tried with the take foul, right? That's to create more transition offense. I think they need to do more things like that to I hate Anthony. I don't know if you're a foul down three guy. I don't know if you're in that pool of people who say you should foul down three. I hate it. I think it's terrible for the sport. I think being able to foul down three completely changes the excitement of the sport. And number two, I think we don't sell the sport correctly. Like Jimmy Butler trade news dominated today with like 7 good games on. Like again, Shams doing his job.
He's played 7 good games this season.
Right. They got blown out by the Pacers today. And number one, on every single screen is Jimmy Butler requests a trade when he requested one 3 weeks ago. It's like, to me, that's the stuff, the transactional hype that we do to like second round picks that got traded, or, you know, like even I love the DFS trade. We didn't get it in tonight, but that like dominated for 3 weeks. DFS is a nice player. Shake Milton's a really good player as well. I like the trade. It was good. But like, it just, those type of things to me dominate the conversation, and the stars kind of lose their appeal as well. Anthony Edwards should be propped up everywhere. That dude's a freaking superstar. But we live in an era where he's, you know, already being told like, oh, is he good enough? Like, you know, can you put the ball in his hands? Like, he's like 23. Like, you know,
I saw Chuck tonight make the leap from like he shoots too many threes to he's a bad leader.
It's like, what are we doing? What are you doing?
That's
like,
crazy. I'm the guy who just went on the rant that I rant on.
It's just insane.
Chuck, you're making it really difficult to agree with you, buddy. Like,
I still think Steph shoots too many threes. Like, he'll still die on that hill. He's like, Steph shoots too many threes.
But that's the thing, though, is that like he can be objectively right and wrong there, because he is objectively wrong because Steph won as much as he won by breaking the math of the sport and by re-engineering the math of the sport. But he can also be objectively right by what that has done to the sport since, where I think there is too much of a focus on 3-point shooting. And like that, but that's what makes this whole debate so maddening and so fascinating at the same time, because the loudest ends of the spectrum are going to be, you know, the ends of the spectrum are always going to be the loudest, and they're going to be the most dismissive. And I think the practical solutions sit somewhere in the middle. And I think the best version and the least disingenuous version of this conversation is somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
He gets tuned out because you have Chuck sitting there saying that Anthony Edwards is a bad leader because he shoots 13 threes a game. Like it's all become nonsense. I know that you just said how much you hate the transaction of the sport and the impact that has on the sport. I'm sorry, Rush.
Here we go. Here we go. Oh, what a transition. Beautiful.
It was sitting. I get it.
It's a perfect 2-0 break.
Have you heard any recent noise between LA and
After that game we just watched, just Austin was incredible. Max Christie drops 30. Dorian Finney-Smith is like a plus 11. Shake Milton plays well. LeBron drops 40. Have you heard anything about a center that doesn't get minutes on the team we just played?
I mean, he doesn't get minutes because they're trying to keep him, like, clearly trying to keep him
Okay.
healthy to be able to trade him.
So what does that say about the guy that you're trying to get? That he can't even run back and forth for 10 minutes without them worrying that his ankles will crack.
Yeah.
This is the guy that you're asking about. Yeah.
So what do you think about Robert?
That's what I feel like they did to Tim Legler when he would go up. He'd be like,
Yeah.
guys, like we just played like, are we gonna talk about the game? And then it's like, all right, showtime. Tim, what do you think about LeBron's trade request? What? That's not what I
LeBron
wrote.
didn't make him trade request. Yeah. So we'll go ahead and jot Raj down as a nay on the yay or nay votes for Robert Williams. No, I heard anything about that? Like I said earlier, I think the Lakers are very skeptical when it comes to whether or not they should trade for a center at all. And they are extremely skeptical of a somewhat expensive center who hasn't shown any ability whatsoever to stay on the court. All right, next question here comes from Alicia Clark Jones. What do you think is going on with Rui? He's been horrible offensively and defensively. Tough time for him to fall into a slump, seeing as they just traded for his replacement potentially in the starting lineup. I think that might actually have like a weird thing. He's always struck me as kind of a mental player. And I think them trading for Dorian and JJ, I think if the season started and you had a blank slate to work with, I think he would start Dorian over Rui. I think part of it is that like Rui is still playing out of position and they're asking him to do things that like, are small forward things that they're asking a power forward to do. And like you said earlier, Raj, it might just be a slump. What do you think's going on?
Yeah, I mean, he's missed his last 7 threes, and he's still shooting 42% from 3 on the season. It's funny, we did the whole Max Christie, and you mentioned Domin's tweet of the game is slowing down. I feel like the game is speeding up for Rui in these last few games. Like, and I was there for the Cleveland game, and just everything was a step faster than he wants to go. And he's a player that you can really tell when he's in a confident rhythm. Like even his jump shot, you can really tell when he's kind of on point. And tonight it was just way off. Something about the way he's catching in, he's not hopping into it. I'm not sure. Again, I have some grace for a player. He just dropped 21 on the Kings 2 nights ago. Was a huge part of that win. He had 18 on Christmas with 5 threes against them. So it's not like he's been in a slump that long. It's just it's not a very thankful job. You have 2 bad games.
It's just like brutal timing because they just traded for Dorian, and I think there are Lakers fans. There are a lot of Lakers fans and a Lakers coach who would prefer to see Dorian out there in those starting minutes. And I think this slump coming at that time where Dorian is a game high plus 11 in this one, and he does things that like, man, I would be really intrigued to see Dorian and Max start games together.
Yeah.
And like hell, in the very first game that Dorian played, the guy that he subbed in for was Rui. And
Rui was awful.
Kind of tough when like the team that you play for kind of sort of just trades for your potential replacement.
Right. And Rui's minutes at 23 tonight, and I think it's interesting to see where those will go. I think JJ's people are asking for more Dorian minutes, but I think JJ's trying to find a way to play Dorian without taking Rui completely out of rhythm. This is a side comparison I thought of tonight. We don't have to get into it, Anthony, but Dorian reminds me a lot of Caruso. Like I didn't see that first when I was watching him, but it just the plus minus stuff kind of put me on to. He does a lot of the same stuff. They're in the same place. They're in the right position all the time defensively. And I know this question was about Rui, but just that comparison hit me. But I think Rui will be fine. He's an offensive guy who, if you have to put him to the bench, you can put him to the bench. I think that would probably be a better kind of scoring role for him as well. But yeah, 2 bad games. It's early to be like, get him off my team, which is I've seen already. It's like, man, it's been 2 games. Let him sit with the fact that his replacement got traded here. You know, it's a strong thing to kind of have to consider for that spot.
I do think though that like the Lakers have a higher view of him than they should, of Rui than they should, you know,
Yeah.
and you know, there's this kind of reluctance that I've sensed to trade him. Now it's tough because like if you trade Rui, you have to trade him for a wing. It has
Right.
to be a wing upgrade that you're trading him for. And you know, you kind of look out there like, what are the wing upgrades? Like Cam Johnson is definitely a wing upgrade, but is he a first and then some stuff enough of an upgrade over Rui, you know? And then beyond him, it's like, is Kuz enough of an upgrade beyond, you know, over Rui?
Brandon Ingram, yeah.
Jeremy Grant, is Brandon Ingram. Ingram would be, but like again, like you trade for Brandon Ingram, you're moving another rotation player, and then you immediately have to pay Brandon Ingram in a way that really prohibits what you would be looking to do elsewhere on your roster moving forward. So, it's complicated, you know. It's a really difficult spot that the Lakers find themselves in now. If the Lakers got good news about Vando and turned Rui and stuff into Bruce Brown, I'd be intrigued.
Yeah, Bruce Brown has not been good, has not been healthy. That's interesting. I could see it, but I'm not there yet.
All right. Continuing on the trade. I kind of want to end the show there. Just Ross sighing into the mic.
No way. There's no way. Simons? Lonzo
intrigues me. If he could stay healthy, Lonzo would objectively be, if he could stay, if I knew that Lonzo, if I could turn injuries off.
You have Vando on your bench, Anthony. What are you talking about? You have Jared Vanderbilt on your bench. You cannot stay healthy. You want to go trade for another guy that's extremely.
I just said if I could turn injuries off, Lonzo would be the perfect acquisition. Because he alleviates your initiation and ball handling issues. He's a phenomenal defender. He spaces the floor at the 2 spot. Is cool coming off of the bench or starting, and it would be a really cool story. All of that stuff. He would be like, I would be all on board with trading for Lonzo Ball. However, like you said, there's no indication that the guy's body is going to hold up over the course of an 82 game season, let alone the playoff games that come after the 82 game season.
My favorite thing about this question is who we getting with an exclamation point. Like, we didn't just make a trade 2 days ago. Like, can I see this team?
I had one of my, going back and forth with a source the other day, with an agent going, back and forth over like what I think is going to play out. This was about a week or so ago, maybe a week and some changes before the DFS trade. I said, I think the Lakers get Dorian, Brown, and a big is how I think this transaction goes. The transaction window goes.
You mean Bruce Brown? Are you talking about Bruce Brown?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
So they got Dorian. He was the one I was probably surest about. And then Brown's tough though, because $23 million is difficult to trade for.
Yes,
Brogdon's making like $22.5 million. That's difficult to trade for. Lonzo's making 20 something million bucks a year. That's also difficult to trade for. So, and if you trade for like any of those guys, they all have serious like reliability questions and availability questions. So You know, we'll see which direction they go in. We have been talking here now for a while. This is what happened, Raj. This is what happens when like we don't record. We go
Right.
like large chunks of times without
I just
recording.
want to close. I just want to close on this because
I would,
we didn't talk.
Raj. I'm telling you right now, if we had writers on the show, comedic writers on the show,
Yeah.
after all of the all of the not whining, but like all of the anguish that you've had towards trade rumors. If like you were like, all right, I just want to finish with like the kind of player that we need to get.
No,
That would have been the perfect way to end this episode. And I
no,
wish you had that kind of comedic timing because that would
no.
have been absolutely perfect.
It
But
would go against
what's your
every. It would go.
closing
It
argument?
would. Yeah, it'd go against everything I believe in. But I just I just want to point this out because no one's brought this up, and with all these trade questions, there's another player we got in the deal named Shake Milton who's
Yeah.
actually playing really well as well. So I just
Yeah.
want to point that out. He's a little bit more friskier than I thought defensively. There's some size there too when you go from like Gabe Vincent as your backup guard, and he's a guy that's very much offensively lenient, which is nice. He comes out screens aggressive. Gabe's been a little bit aggressive, been more aggressive as the games have gone on, but just want to give him a shout out too. He's here. Like these are the two guys that we just got them 3 days ago. Everyone's like, well, all right, now
it's like
go get
buying a
Walker
car.
Kessler.
When the Lakers when your favorite team trades for a player, like you become like half as interested in that player as you were
Right.
before they were on your team, your favorite team. Unless it's like a superstar, right? Then like, you know, like Shohei, like you know, like I just like can't stop thinking about the way that guy plays baseball. But like, yeah, it is funny how in this like the way that the sport is covered, and I'm guilty of it too because I love this stuff. I love roster tweaking and CBA, you know, nuances and opportunities and stuff like that. Like I dig that stuff. But it's why, you know, I do think there's something to what you're talking about where like interest in the sport itself has kind of waned because everybody has become these like fantasy GMs and here we find ourselves. So, all right, that is going to do it here for this episode of the Lakers Lounge podcast and this week's episodes of the Lakers Lounge podcast. We are through the holiday season. So next week we'll be right back to your typical, you know, scheduled content as it goes, and as you guys kind of expect it. And I do want to thank everybody for kind of sticking with us through this weird holiday season and tuning in the way that you guys have. There are 1,800 of you guys watching or listening right now. Please do hit that subscribe button if you guys are here, or hit that like button if you guys are here as well. And yeah, get your questions in. I got to see the Lakers play tonight. If you guys are when you guys are listening, they play again against Atlanta, and then I'm looking Sunday they play against Houston. So Raj and I will be back after the Houston game to break that down, I believe. And then we'll do a mailbag on a different day later that week. So until then, and until the next time you guys hear from us, I'm Anthony Irwin. That was Raj Chapalu. This has been the Lakers Lounge. Have a great rest of your weekend. Make somebody else's, and I will talk to you guys again on Sunday.